Namaskar to all who have joined me in this second chat session of Kahani Takbak. In the first session, I was talking about my own books and stopped at the juncture where stated that I moved towards some serious writing, and that serious writing was writing for the very young children. I had not attempted any book for that age group, and it was no easy job to write for such a age group to come down, or rather come to the level, or I would put it in a different way, rise to the level of very small children, to create something which they would really appreciate. I wrote Gabbu's Trunk. Gabbu is a little elephant who has a very long trunk and gets into funny situations and problems which create humor for the young readers. Next, I wrote Panna, the Lonely Duckling. This talks a little about the environment, keeping the environment clean and tidy, weaving in the story of the little lonely duckling. Both these, any picture book for that matter, is a work of art, and the artist takes the credit for creating very interesting situations and beautiful pictures, which the children love to read. Every illustration they sit and dwell over and try to absorb as much as possible from there. I wrote recently Golam Gol Gol Matol. Golam Gol Gol Matol is a yellow ball. I was holding on to it. It's a yellow ball that teaches the little animals team spirit and the meaning of friendship. This was some serious writing which I involved in, and going through reading books for children, writing books for children, writing short stories, and thinking about children's literature as such. I started writing articles on aspects of creative writing, as well as I started writing on subjects connected with children's books as such. I had the chance to go to various conferences, seminars in India and abroad, and talk about the Indian children's literature. So I spoke about our roots, the epics, the folk tales, how they have been carried on, and what immense power they still hold. That books are being created on taking the stories from the folk literature, taking stories from the Panchtantra, how these roots have led the modern children's literature into different routes. It has gone different ways, but the idea of a children's books that has remained in the probably the same in most of the writing that is being published nowadays. So I started writing these papers for conferences on the historical development of children's books in India, about different artistic traditions, the folk traditions in Indian children's literature, the role of the stories from epics in children's literature, as well as about the emotional content in modern writing, the importance of story content, the plot structure of the modern children's books, as well as something which is my favorite and I love to talk about it, is book therapy, and that reading is healing. I just never could stop talking about it. At Association of Writers and Illustrators for Children, I have always attached myself, even when I am physically present or even when I am not. There's a kind of emotional attachment to it. And my interaction with most of the members right from the beginning till date is a memorable experience. My discussions, my chat, and working together with people like Manorma Jaffa, Neelima Sinha, Swapna Datta, Indra Anant Krishnan. I shouldn't forget any, I may. Girija Rani Asthana, Neeta Berry, Pratibha Nath, and artists like Suddha Sat Basu, and those who are not there anymore, artists like Jagdish Joshi, writers like Surekha, Dilip Salvi, Mr. R.K. Murthy. All these people who created wonderful books shared something common with me. That was the love for children's books, love for children for that matter. And it has a profound influence on me. It has been, the interactions have always had a learning impression upon me. I would like to mention about the Hindi Dictionary project. We were about 15 people, one artist and 14 authors who contributed to the Hindi dictionary prepared by the Association of Writers and Illustrators for Children. And how meticulously we all worked on every word of the dictionary. I was there as a contributor to the dictionary as well as in the editorial team. And every sentence was thrashed out very carefully. So this meeting each other, talking about the same thing, it was a labor of love, really, that created this dictionary. And interesting learning experience for me. For quite some time, I was away from the Association of Writers and Illustrators for Children when I went to England. But I could never forget or lose any touch with the association. I kept coming to India, I kept meeting people, taking part in all activities like day-to-day correspondence, writing minutes of a meeting, to getting involved in organizing conferences, exhibitions, etc. While I was away from India, I also got involved in the UK section of International Board on Books for Young People. And they were a like-minded group. I was fortunate enough to draw a lot from the people who were there, editors, writers, librarians, who shared common interests and also had a lot to offer from their country. I managed to read new books, got involved in the group that was going to select the candidate to be nominated for the Hans Christian Andersen Award. And that selection process provided me with a lot of new books, new writing that was going on over there, and the important people. I was very fortunate to have shared the stage with people like Aidan Chambers, Philip Pullman, and that's a lot to remember. Melvin Burgess, Robert Swindle, many authors. They are very pleasant memories that I have from there. On my return from England, the Association of Writers and Illustrators for Children sent my name to be on the board of International Board on Books for Young People. I got elected in the EB Congress, and once again I met members from different other countries, various countries, learned more about the current state of children's books. So it has been a very rewarding experience for me, and talking about writing and talking about children's books. The more I thought about writing, the more I read books, I sort of grew a tremendous regard for our traditional literature, our folk literature. It has existed there for thousands of years. From generation to generation, it has passed on. The stories change with times. The stories change with the narrator, with the times, with every generation. But their essence has remained the same. Even today, we read those stories with great interest, and they are fascinating. Enchantment in the folk tales is through its characters and through its content. I really wish folk tales to be to see more and more of folk tales, and write more and more of retell more folk tales, because if you analyze these stories, the real charm is in the sequence, in the characters which are from the real world, from the same world where the reader or listener and the narrator, they both live in. There are no supernatural structures, no make-believe canvases painted on for the story to unfold, and no parallel worlds exist. Everything is happening where they are talking about what they are talking about. This nurtured a dream, and that dream was very soon realized when I published this book, Fascinating Folk Tales. These are 11 folk tales. I compiled 11 folk tales along with an artist who has given color and beauty to this book by using folk art from the region where the story belongs, and presenting it in a way, presenting the story elements in such a way. For instance, look at this. Rajasthani Fud paintings. the Madhubani picture. These are some of the illustrations I'm showing you. It's a complete culture fair. I would love to write more and more of such books because the folk tales have tremendous wealth of it's a treasure house. You'll be pleased to know one of the folk tales that I heard as a child is going to be published very shortly. It's coming in the market this month. It's called the Tale of Baban Hajam. It's being published by Karadi Tales and would soon be in the market. I haven't received it myself, but I'm anxiously waiting for it. There was a major shift in my thought process with the terrorist attack in Bombay. It upset me tremendously, and it upset me even more when I saw the youngsters were so confused, so agitated over the event. So it prompted me to do something for the young readers. The AWIC came to the forefront by launching AWIC Book Therapy Project. I handled it. I was looking after it, organized writing workshops with professionals, writers, at schools with teachers to talk about what book therapy is. Book therapy is nothing very strange. It grows from the natural inclination of human mind to identify with one character in the story, follow the storyline, follow the solutions of the story, and take care of their own difficulties, their own problems. Stories offer solace. Literature has the potential to show a way out from the life storms. The storyline enables the mind, the young mind, to think and comprehend their own situation, and it ensures an emotional release at the end and helps the child, helps the reader to come to grips with the situation. The stories become a catalyst for healing mental turbulence and emotional instability. Reading, especially children who have grown up, who are readers in the true sense, for them they are at the young adult stage. This naturally led me to think about the young readers, and around the same time I was involved in preparing a book list for the CBSE and found that for the secondary children there was very little, very scarce literature for the young adults. The original writing for the young adults, so that slot had to be filled up with the works of great masters like Premchand, Tagore, Jaishankar Prasad, Bhagwati Charan Verma, Banarsi Das Chaturvedi, etc., etc. And with that vacuum, I realized that young adults actually require literature that incorporates honest ground reality. It deals with the interpersonal problems that they themselves have been facing, and also intra-individual conflicts that affect the interpersonal relations, their dilemmas as well as their own strengths, the differences in the problems that occur in the rural areas as compared to the metro cities. A special stream of literature and lots of books that deal about the emotional aspect of their life ought to be presented to children from different walks of life and all young adults. Taking cue from there, I wrote this book, Chand Katori. It is a story, a novel of a young protagonist who builds up herself after meeting Gandhiji as a child and draws inspiration from him, understands the meaning of non-violence and charkha for Azadi. She organizes Charkha Samiti and participates in the freedom movement, goes on to the corridors of power as she matures. Another book that I wrote is Para, more contemporary, and dealing with, it's a love story with a difference spanning 3 generations and in a society which is torn by communal hatred and communal conflicts. Under that impact, the love matures and finds its meaning. The story grows in that way. So much so for writing, so much so for talking about my impressions of children's literature, different children's books. I still hold dreams. I dream that lots and lots of books are produced and they reach children wherever they are, the readers wherever they are in the country, so that they can enjoy the best of children's writing. The traditional literature which has traveled down generations and makes an impact even today, that should be studied methodically like a course approved by the UGC, along with the modern trends, the modern writing and the analysis of modern literature. The folk tales can be made into readers for different classes, and so that one group reads those folk tales in their readers as a part of the text and part of the curriculum, and then the next lot also reads the same literature. So these folk tales which have traveled generations, they still continue to enchant the young readers now. I hope this will come true, and very sure, because our book industry has created wonderful productions which is comparable to international level in every form. So I'm sure there will be lots and lots of books, and I pray for that. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any questions, write me through Kahani Takbak or write me directly on my email Saxena, Saxena .ira, @gmail.com. Bye bye.